Have you ever felt that the harder you chase something, the faster it runs away? It's a feeling we have all had, right? A puzzle that seems to grow more complex the more we study it. This is a fundamental mystery of our existence. We are creatures driven by a deep need to know. We want to understand the universe, our world, and most of all, ourselves. But what if the very act of knowing changes the thing we seek to know? What if some truths are designed to remain just beyond our grasp, not because they are hidden, but because our search for them alters the landscape? This paradox isn't just a philosophical curiosity. It appears in the most unexpected places, connecting the chaos of war, the strange rules of the cosmos, and the deepest questions of our own consciousness. This journey takes us into the heart of a profound riddle. We will look at a soldier trapped in a war he cannot escape, simply because he is smart enough to want to escape. We will travel to the smallest scales of reality, where watching a particle changes its behavior, as if it knows it is being observed. And we will venture deep inside the human mind, following an ancient path that tells us the self we are looking for can never be found as an object. In each of these realms, a similar, beautiful, and maddening principle emerges. The observer and the observed are not separate. They are locked in a cosmic dance, forever influencing one another in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. These are not separate stories. They are different reflections of the same deep truth about the limits of knowledge. Is it possible that the universe is built on a foundation of uncertainty? Does this mean our quest for answers is futile? Or does it point toward a different kind of wisdom? A wisdom that does not come from grasping and defining, but from letting go and simply being. We are about to explore the idea that the ultimate knowledge might not be an answer we can hold, but a mystery we can live within. It is a journey that challenges the very foundation of how we think we know anything at all, inviting us to see the world not as a problem to be solved, but as a wonder to be experienced. The quest for certainty has driven human progress for millennia. We build telescopes to peer into the distant past of the universe. We construct microscopes to reveal the invisible worlds teeming with life all around us. We write books and create laws to make sense of our complex societies. Yet at the edge of our greatest discoveries, we often find a mirror. We see our own influence reflected back at us. The act of measurement, of observation, of even just thinking about a problem seems to introduce a new variable into the equation: us. This essay is an exploration of that reflection. It is an investigation into the paradox of knowing, a paradox that binds a pilot's sanity, a particle's position, and a seeker's soul together with an unseen thread. Imagine you are a pilot in a terrible war. Every mission you fly is a dance with death. You see the insanity of it all. The only rational response is to want to get out. So you go to your commanding officer and you tell him you are crazy. You need to be grounded. But then comes the catch. A rule, known as Catch-22, states that a concern for one's own safety in the face of real and immediate danger is the process of a rational mind. Therefore, anyone who wants to get out of combat duty is not truly crazy. By asking to be grounded, you have just proven you are sane. And if you are sane, you have to fly more missions. This is the brilliant, maddening logic at the heart of Joseph Heller's novel. The pilot, Yossarian, is trapped in a perfect loop created by his own awareness. His knowledge of the absurdity of his situation is the very thing that prevents his escape. If he were truly mad, he would not recognize the danger and would be happy to fly. But because he sees the truth clearly, he is deemed fit for duty. The system is designed so that the only way to be declared insane is to not ask. The moment you become aware of the trap and try to act on that knowledge, the trap snaps shut. It is a paradox where knowing the problem makes you part of the problem. Yossarian's dilemma shows us something profound about systems of control, whether in war or in life. The very act of observing the rules and trying to find a logical way out can reinforce the walls of the prison. His sanity becomes his curse. The more rationally he behaves, the more insane his situation becomes. He is a knower trapped by what he knows. This is not just a clever literary device. It is a reflection of how our own minds can work. We can become so focused on analyzing a problem, on trying to solve our own anxiety or fear, that our analysis becomes the very source of our distress. The effort to escape becomes the cage itself. The paradox of Catch-22 is a powerful metaphor for the limits of a certain kind of knowledge. It is the knowledge of the logician, the strategist, the person who believes every problem has a neat solution that can be found through pure reason. Yossarian tries to use logic to beat an illogical system, but the system uses his own logic against him. His awareness is turned into a weapon that ensures his compliance. He knows he is in a trap, but the more he knows it, the more trapped he becomes. This strange loop, where awareness leads not to freedom but to confinement, sets the stage for even deeper mysteries about the nature of knowing. Now, let us leave the battlefield and travel to a place far stranger. The world of the very, very small. The world of quantum mechanics. Here, the fundamental particles that make up our universe behave in ways that defy all common sense. For centuries, scientists believed that if we were clever enough, we could measure everything about the universe with perfect precision. We could know the exact location and the exact speed of any object, from a planet to a grain of sand. But when we tried to do this with an electron, we stumbled upon a shocking discovery. A discovery that would shake the foundations of physics forever. It is called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The principle is surprisingly simple, yet its implications are mind-bending. It states that you cannot know both the precise position and the precise momentum, which is related to speed, of a particle at the same time. The more accurately you measure one, the less accurately you can know the other. Why is this? Because to see a particle like an electron, you have to interact with it. You might shine a light on it, but that light is made of photons, which are also particles. When a photon hits the electron to reveal its position, it knocks the electron off its course, changing its momentum in an unpredictable way. The very act of observing changes the thing being observed. Think about what this means. There is no such thing as a passive observer in the quantum world. The scientist in the lab is not separate from the experiment. They are a part of it. The questions they ask and the tools they use to ask them fundamentally alter the answers they receive. It is not that the electron has a secret position that we are just failing to measure. It is that the property we call position does not exist with perfect clarity until we measure it. And in the moment we force it to have a position, we sacrifice our ability to know its momentum. The universe, at its most fundamental level, seems to have a built-in veil of uncertainty. This is a cosmic version of Catch-22. To know a particle's location, you must disturb its path. To know its path, you must accept ambiguity about its location. You cannot have both. The knowledge itself is conditional, incomplete by its very nature. The observer's search for information casts a shadow on the very reality it seeks to illuminate. This profound connection between the knower and the known forces us to abandon the old idea of an objective reality that exists out there, completely independent of us. Instead, we are participants in the creation of what we measure. We are not just watching the cosmic dance. We are dancing with it. Let us now turn our gaze from the outer universe to the inner one. For thousands of years, sages and mystics in India have embarked on a quest to answer the most fundamental question of all. Who am I? They sought to find the true self, the core of our being, the silent witness behind our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. But they quickly ran into a paradox as deep as any in quantum physics. How do you find the one who is doing the finding? How can the eye see itself? The seeker is the very thing being sought. This led to a unique and powerful method of inquiry known as Neti. Neti is a Sanskrit expression that translates to not this, not this. The path is not one of finding the self, but of eliminating everything that it is not. A seeker sits in meditation and observes their own experience. They feel their body. But are they their body? No, because they can observe the body. It is an object of their awareness. So they say, I am not this body. Then they observe their thoughts. Are they their thoughts? No, because they are aware of the thoughts coming and going. The thoughts are also objects. I am not these thoughts. They continue this process with emotions, memories, and even their own ego identity. Not this, not this. This process is a kind of spiritual science. It is a rigorous investigation into the nature of consciousness. But what happens when you have negated everything you can possibly observe? When you have peeled away every layer of the onion, the body, the mind, the feelings, the stories you tell yourself, what is left? The answer is not an object you can point to and say, aha, there it is. The self, the pure awareness that is left, cannot be objectified. It cannot be known in the same way you know a table or a tree. The moment you try to grasp it, to define it, to make it an object of your thought, it is no longer the true self. It is just another thought about the self. Here we see the ultimate observer paradox. The true self is the ultimate subject, the pure knower. It can never be made into an object of knowledge. The search for the self, when conducted like a search for a lost item, is doomed to fail. It is like trying to catch your own shadow. The more you chase it, the more it moves. The wisdom of Neti. Neti is the realization that you are already what you are looking for. The search must be abandoned not in failure but in recognition. The truth is not found by adding more knowledge, but by realizing the nature of the knower that has been there all along, silently witnessing the search. We have now traveled through three very different worlds. The world of a soldier trapped by his own sanity, the world of a particle that refuses to be pinned down, and the world of a seeker looking for a self that cannot be found. On the surface, they seem to have nothing in common. One is about warfare and bureaucracy. Another is about the physics of the subatomic realm. The third is about the nature of consciousness. But beneath the surface, a powerful common thread unites them all. In each story, the clear line we love to draw between the observer and the observed simply dissolves into mist. In the case of Catch-22, Yossarian, the knower, tries to separate himself from the insane system he observes. But his very act of knowing and rationally trying to act on that knowledge makes him an integral part of the system's logic. His awareness is not outside the system, looking in. It is the very gear that makes the trap work. The knower and the known are inseparable. His knowledge of the trap becomes the trap. He cannot step outside of it because his consciousness is the final piece of the puzzle. The system and the person trying to understand it are woven together in a single, tangled reality. In quantum mechanics, this idea becomes a fundamental law of nature. The physicist, the knower, wants to measure the particle, the known, but the tools of knowing, the photons, the detectors, are part of the same quantum reality they are trying to probe. The act of observation is not a passive glance, it is an active participation. It co-creates the reality it measures. The particle does not have a definite state waiting to be discovered. Its state is a relationship between it and the device measuring it. The knower and the known are bound together in a relationship of uncertainty, a partnership where asking a question shapes the answer you get. And in the search for the self, this principle reaches its most intimate conclusion. The seeker, the knower, is looking for the self, the known. But the self is the knower itself. They are one and the same. The entire process of objectifying, of trying to make the self something out there to be found, is the fundamental mistake. The path of Neti reveals that the knower cannot be known as an object because it is the very source of knowing. Here, the inseparability is total. The moment you separate them, you are no longer dealing with the truth. You are dealing with a concept, a shadow of the real thing. All three stories tell us that to know is to touch and to touch is to change. So where does this leave us? We have seen that in war, in physics, and in our own souls, the pursuit of absolute knowledge can lead us into a paradox. The closer we look, the more our own presence influences what we see. The soldier's sanity, the particle's position, the seeker's self, they all seem to shy away from the spotlight of our focused attention. It is as if the universe is whispering a secret to us. Some things are not meant to be captured, defined, and pinned down. This might sound like a defeat. It might feel like we are destined to live in a fog of confusion. But perhaps it is not a defeat at all. Perhaps it is an invitation. It is an invitation to embrace a different kind of wisdom. For centuries, our culture has celebrated the wisdom of knowing. We value facts, data, and definitive answers. We want to solve the puzzle, win the argument, and have everything figured out. But what if there is an equal or even greater wisdom in being? The wisdom of being does not come from relentless seeking, but from quiet allowing. It is the wisdom of accepting mystery, of being comfortable with uncertainty, and of experiencing the world directly, without constantly trying to analyze it. It is the understanding that life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be lived. Think of how this applies to our examples. For Yossarian, perhaps the only true escape was not to out-logic the system, but to abandon its logic entirely, as he eventually does. For the quantum physicist, the wisdom is in accepting that reality is probabilistic and fuzzy at its core, and to work with that beautiful uncertainty rather than fighting it. And for the spiritual seeker, the final step is to stop seeking. It is to simply rest in the awareness that is already here now. In all cases, the release comes not from finding the answer, but from letting go of the need to find it in the first place. This does not mean we should abandon science or stop asking questions. Our curiosity is one of our greatest gifts, but it suggests that we can hold our knowledge more lightly. We can recognize its limits. We can see that beneath all the facts and theories lies a vast, unknowable, and wondrous mystery. And maybe, just maybe, the most profound experience of being human is not to conquer that mystery, but to stand before it in awe, to simply be a part of it, to watch the sunset without needing to know the physics of light scattering, to love someone without a complete psychological profile, to simply be here now in the midst of it all. That may be the greatest knowledge we can ever hope to possess.